hakika ni amina, amina ni kweli. Neno la Mungu ni hakika ni amina, amina ni kweli. Kwa kupigwa kwake Yesu tumepona, tumepona. Kwa kupigwa kwake Yesu tumepona, tumepona. Alisema imekwisha, msalabani tumepona. Alisema imekwisha, msalabani tumepona. Je, ni kitu gani kikutenge na upendo wa Mungu? Usiache kumpenda Mungu wewe, wewe, wewe. Jaribu gani likufanya uiache imani? Usiache imani wewe, wewe, wewe. Je, ni kitu gani kikutenge na upendo wa Mungu? Usiache kumpenda Mungu wewe, wewe. Jaribu gani likufanya uiache imani? Usiache imani wewe, wewe. Shida gani imekufanya unalia hata umeacha kumwamini wewe? Kitu gani kikutenge na upendo? Hakuna, hakuna, hakuna.
Hello dear, my name is K. Lyndon Toba. I'm in search of a platform where I can get credible information of our daily happenings in Liberia and the world at large.
Hello, Lyndon Toba. My name is Perfina Korishpa. Haven't you heard about Focal Online TV?
You say Focal Online TV?
Focal Online TV is located within a Tobo village community along the Japanese highway.
Tell me more about the platform.
This platform, called Focal Online TV Daily Edition of Inside the Print Media, does not encourage any form of dialogue between the viewers and the presenters.
Oh, you mean nobody calling there?
No, you can't call on a show. Let me talking out like with no calling there. So all you can do is you will listen to the news, and they can also encourage you to buy the newspaper to listen to the news in details.
But do you do viewer recognition at times?
Oh yes, we do viewer recognition. When you are watching, we notify you, and sometimes we even appreciate you on a show, telling you thank you for always following us. We also encourage you to share the live stream, because the more you share the live stream, we transform and we transition ourselves as a broadcast team as well.
Wow. So when can I better get this program you are talking about?
This program is aired every Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. to 10:45. The program runs for 45 minutes.
Wow.
And guess what?
Wow.
We bring you hot stories of our trending situation within our country, Liberia. Imagine hearing stories from Hot Pepper newspaper, from the Daily Observer newspaper, from Front Page Africa. Are you a lover of Front Page Africa?
Oh yes, I'm a lover of
Front Page Africa, and the Women Voices, and a lot more. Not forgetting international news, BBC,
wow.
CNN, ABC News. We bring you headlines from those standpoints.
Wow, that is very, very, very amazing.
So we say, join us every day on the daily edition of Inside the Print Media at 10 a.m. with the headlines of top stories in our country and the world at large on Focal Online TV.
Morning, good morning. It's good to be back here at about this time to bring you your informative and favorite news program. For print inside the print media, it's your informative news program where we highlight all of the trending developments taking place in Liberia. We also extend our eye to the international media, bringing you important details about trending stories from our global village. This morning, I'm very much excited to be here to bring you the program inside the print media. Lots of things happening in our country, and they have been reported by the varieties of newspapers we have in our country. So this morning, President Joseph Boakai criticized for purchasing 300k vehicle amid economic hardship. President Joseph Boakai criticized for purchasing 200k vehicle amid economic hardship. You see the photograph of President Joseph Boakai and the two luxury vehicles. They are all captured in this particular story. And you see the picture of the president of the Republic of Liberia also captured. Let's begin to acknowledge some of our very, very, very esteemed followers who are following this edition of the program. Eric Pilot Collins is following. S. Amos Tambad is also following this conversation. Sekou Bambat is following. Let's go strictly. Amid the dire economic struggle facing Liberians, the recent purchase of two luxury vehicles by President Joseph Boakai has engendered a fierce debate across the nation. The 2025 Lexus 700 HR Super Ultra Luxury SUV valued at nearly 300,000 have become a symbol of perceived hypocrisy, causing public outcry as critics question the president's commitment to the people he vowed to serve. The controversy unfolded last week when images of the luxury vehicles in the president's motorcade surfaced, sparking backlash. The purchase directly contradicts President Boakai's earlier pledges to avoid extravagant spending. Just months ago, during the local church service, the president had declared that his commitment to physical restraint, even suggesting that he could ride a wheelbarrow to work if it meant saving public resources. Our nation is at a critical juncture. We cannot afford to waste resources on luxury when our people need basic amenities like healthcare, education, and good roads, Waka declared in October 2024. At the time, the president had been addressing criticism of his former ministers of commerce, Amin Mudai, who had resigned after being accused of misappropriating public funds for a luxury vehicle. The purchase of the high-end vehicle, however, has led to accusations of hypocrisy. Critics argue that the president's actions are far cry from the modest government he promised. The images of the vehicle jeopardize against Liberia's economic realities, how unemployment, raising poverty, deteriorating public services have raised concerns that Boakai is out of touch with the struggle of ordinary citizens. The transparency advocate have been among the most vocal critics. Anderson Miamin, executive director for the Center for Transparency and Accountability, expressed concern over the message the purchase sends to the Liberian people. A leader's security should come from the people, not from the number of costly vehicles they possess, Miamin said in a social media post. He stressed that continuing the practice of spending public money on luxury vehicles is a step of backward, especially at a time when basic needs such as healthcare and education are unmet. For Miamin, the issues of not simply about the cost of the car, but about the leadership values. We need to set off points to decisions that can benefit a few, he added. His sentiments reflect a broader frustration felt by many Liberians who see the purchase as a clear contradiction to President Boakai earlier vow of humiliating and physical responsibility. Opposition voices have been silent on the issues. Jeremiah Page, Secretary General of the Opposition, Movement for Economic Empowerment was quick to condemn the decision. In a statement, they cried the purchase as an act of selflessness at a time when Liberians are facing dire economic hardship. This decision comes at a time when the public schools teachers are protesting underpayment, cleaners' eye without essential medicine, farmers are lamenting lack of support, the citizens are demanding jobs. The president is rescuing himself, not the people, Page said, accusing Bouakar's administration of deceptive display of wealth. Mountain Colley, an exiled Liberian advocate, echoes similar frustration, labeling the Bouakar's actions as a betrayal of his 2023 promises. The president's actions betrayed his 2023 promises of a modest government, Colley said. He pointed out that the Lexus vehicle, valued between $115,000 to $150,000, are emblematic of public waste, particularly in light of the economic hardship many Liberians face. In addition, Colley raised concern over the financial transparencies of the vehicle purchases, citing that $1.1 million was allocated for vehicle for both Bouakar and the vice president convoys in the last fiscal year. He vowed to use the 2010 Freedom of Information Law to demand full transparency on the matter. Despite the outcry, some public officials and citizens have defended the president's purchase, framing it as necessary expenditure for the safety and security of the head of state. Assistant Minister at the Ministry of Internal Affairs stated that the cost of the vehicle is not excessive when considering the need for presidential protection. Presidents ride in this vehicle for security, not enjoyment, Jabate argued, claiming that the $120,000 vehicle is actually considered inexpensive for a presidential motorcade. He suggested that focusing on the vehicle distracts from more pressing issues, adding that if talking could develop a nation, Liberia could be more developed than Rwanda and Guinea. Similarly, Patrick Falley, a former executive within the All Liberian Party, defended President Bouakar's decision, emphasizing the importance of security. The presidents do not choose their own vehicle. For security reasons, they must ride a bulletproof vehicle, Falley explained. He further noted that the vehicle purchase could not be exclusively for President Bouakar, but could serve the current government. The controversy surrounding the law's vehicle deepened further when Director of the Executive Protection Services made a statement regarding former President George Weah's handlings of government vehicles. The EPS claimed that the Weah had taken state-owned vehicle when leaving office, which it said necessitated the purchase of a new vehicle for Bouakar. The office of former President George Weah quickly responded, labeling the EPS claim as sapphoric and baseless. In a statement, the office clarified that Weah had handed 3 armored vehicles in pristine condition to Bouakar's administration. The office pointed out that 15 brand new Toyota Land Cruiser were purchased for the presidential convoy in 2023. Regarding the Lexus vehicle mentioned by EPS Director, the office clarified that it privately owned by former President George Weah, and all relevant documentations, including registrations and shipment records, are available for verification. The office also criticized the EPS for not conducting proper due diligence before making such claim, accusing the agency of letting partisan politics cloud its judgment. The statement emphasized that verifying these facts could have been straightforward if the EPS had prioritized transparency. For the sake of the former president, EPS remarks were an attempt to deflect attention from the current administration challenges. For almost a year and a half, the current administration has consistently blamed former President Weah for its failure, the statement read. But the Liberian people are not deceived. They demand real solution, not excuses. That is a story found within the Front Page Africa newspaper. Supreme Court must deliver clear ruling. House must comply. Is another story written within the Front Page Africa newspaper. The ongoing leadership crisis within the House of Representatives has underscored the urgent need for definitive judicial intervention and unwavering adherence to constitutional mandates. The Supreme Court stands at a crucial juncture where its clarity and decisiveness are paramount to resolving this impasse and upholding the integrity of our democratic institutions. The Supreme Court, ruled as the final arbiter of the constitutional issues, is enshrined in Article 66 of the Liberian Constitution, which grants its ultimate appellate jurisdictions in all cases emanating from various courts and authorities. This constitutional empowerment obligates the court to provide unambiguous interpretations and ruling that leave no room for misinterpretation or selective application by any party involved. In its recent deliberations on the House of Representatives dispute, the Supreme Court invoked Article 66, affirming its jurisdiction over the matter. This invocation is not an overreach into legislative affairs, but a fulfillment of its constitutional duty to adjudicate on issues that threaten the foundational principles of our governance. By issuing a clear and definitive ruling, the court could eliminate ambiguities that could be exploited, thereby reinforcing the rule of law. On the other hand, the legislature embodies the direct representation of the Liberian people and serves as the cornerstone of our democratic system. It holds the critical function of oversight in the other branches of government, ensuring that the power truly resides within the people. Therefore, it is incumbent upon the members of the House of Representatives to exemplify respect for the rule of law by adhering strictly to the rulings of the Supreme Court. Disregarding or selectively interpreting the court's decision not only undermine the authority of our judicial system but also echo public trust in our democratic processes. The House must demonstrate its commitment to constitutional order by resolving internal conflicts within its established legal frameworks, and respecting the judiciary determinations. The current crisis presents an opportunity for both the Supreme Court and the House of Representatives to reaffirm their dedication to the Liberia's constitutional democracy. The court must issue its ruling that is explicit and leave no room for divergent interpretations, effectively calling a special space a space. Concurrently, the House must exhibit unwavering respect for the ruling, setting the precedent for lawful and orderly governance. By taking these steps, our institution will not only resolve the present impasse, but also strengthen the democratic foundation upon which our nation stands. It is through such decisive and principled action that Liberia can continue to progress towards a future where the rule of law prevails and the will of the people is preserved. That is a story with the front page Africa newspaper. Let's go over to the Daily Observer newspaper and see what the Daily Observer newspaper is reporting this morning. Rabat International Airport descends in darkness again as power outages forces passengers to use foam lights. And you see a very dark environment, the photograph of a very dark environment with people using foam lights to identify their luggages. Rabat International Airport, Liberia's primary gateway to the world, was thrown into complete darkness. On Sunday, March 30, following a sudden power outage that disrupted airport operations and left passengers struggling to navigate the terminal using their phone lines. The incident has re-engenerated concerns about Liberia's failing infrastructures and the government's misallocations of resources. The power outage will occur at approximately 5 p.m. came at a critical moment just as an SN Brussels airline flight landed at Rabat International Airport. With no backup electricity, passengers arriving from the flight were left in a state of confusion and frustration. Instead of being welcomed by a world light terminal, they were met with darkness, forcing them to use their mobile phone flashlight to collect their baggage. Eyewitnesses described the scene of disorganization and distress as airport staff struggled to manage operation. It was humiliating for the country's main airport to be in complete darkness. So one frustrated travel, we had no light, and it was so shocking to experience this 2025. Passengers weren't on the once affected airport's record, including custom officers and baggage handlers, were left unable to perform their duties efficiently, causing further delays and confusion. The Liberia Airport Authority, the body responsible for managing RIA, was quick to shift blame to the Liberia Electricity Corporation, stating that the backlog resulted from an issue on the LAC power grid. In an official statement, the LAA apologized for the inconvenience and assured travelers that efforts were being made to resolve the problems. The Liberia Airport Authority deeply regrets any inconvenience caused by the disruption and is fully committed to resolving the situation as swiftly and safely as possible, the LAA statement read. However, the lack of functional backup power system at RIA raises critical concern about airport's preparedness for emergency. Many are questioning why a facility of such importance does not have a reliable alternative power sources, especially given its history of power-related failure. The blackout at RIA has once again exposed Liberia's ongoing infrastructure failure, particularly in budgetary allocation. In fiscal year 2024, the LAA was allocated $2,662,443 this year. Its budget increased from $3,344,798. Despite this bump, basic airport services such as stable electricity remain unreliable. Meanwhile, the government has spent over $40 million on luxury vehicle fuel and maintenance for government officials. This disparity has fueled public outrage, with many questioning why essential services like airport electricity have neglected while resources are funneled through non-essential expenditure. This is a disgrace, said an aviation industry analyst. We are talking about international airport that lacks power. How do we expect to attract investors or tourists when these things are experienced in Liberia and it is an international airport is in darkness? Sunday blackout is just the latest in a series of infrastructure failure at RIA. On February 23, 2025, another major incident raised alarm when an Ethiopian airline flight was forced to abort its landing due to thick smoke from the uncontrolled farm fire near the airport. The smoke coming from the farmland just along RIA perimeter fence reduced visibility to severely that the flight had to circle for 13 to 15 minutes before landing safely. The recurrence of such incidents has heightened concerns about the airport's ability to maintain international standards. Repeated failure from power outages to environmental hazard has cast doubts on the competence of RIA management and the government commitment to addressing this issue. This is beyond embarrassment. This is a national security issue, a former airport executive stated. If we cannot guarantee the safety and reliable operations of our only international airport, what does that say about our country's development? With growing frustration from both travelers and aviation experts, calls for urgent reform at RIA are increasing. Many believe that the government must take airport infrastructure a priority if Liberia wants to be taken seriously in the global aviation industry. The situation is unacceptable, said former Transport Ministry official. The government needs to ensure that RIA has a fully operational backup power system, that these failures do not keep happening. This is a national embarrassment, and enough is enough. At the same time, the Liberia Electricity Corporation refused the claim made by the Liberia Airport Authority that the recent power outage at the Rabat International Airport was caused by an electrical issue stemming from LAC power grid. Contrary to the LAA statement, our technical team assessed the situation and discovered that the power outage at RIA was in fact caused by fuel shortage from the three giant-sized Caterpillar generators which were commissioned in June 2024 by His Excellency President Joseph Yoman Boakai. The fuel shortage from these generators with the capacity of 250 kilovolt and 110 kilovolt respectively were also damaged the power grid. The LEC technical team is working with the LED technician tirelessly to restore power at the airport, and we appreciate the public understanding and cooperation during this time. We would like to ensure the public that the LEC is committed to providing reliable and efficient electricity services to all our customers, including the RIA. We will continue to work closely with the LA to resolve these issues and prevent further occurrences. Public outreach is mounting, with citizens and industry stakeholders demanding greater transparency in how airport funds are managed. Many believe that true audit or LED finances is necessary to determine why essential services remain adequate despite increased budgetary support. As public criticism intensifies, the LAA has issued passengers that it is working to resolve all full powers and prevent future occurrences. However, skepticism remains high, with many questioning whether real actions could be taken if this will not happen if the government fails to set up rightful measures to curb the situations. With this being said, this is how we move over to another headlines. Government ban African Adoption Agency. Government bans American Adoption Agency. You see the photograph of a female. Government bans American Adoption Agency. The government, through the Ministry of Gender and Social Protection, has acted decisively against an American Adoption Agency for what it termed as a serious criminal activity and mismanagement. The American for African Adoptions and its affiliate, Cradle of Hope, an orphanage, are involved in serious child abuse and welfare violations as uncovered in sweeping police investigation. The government has revoked the operation licenses of the orphanage and the adoption agency permanently. In a letter dated February 19, 2024, which contents are still concealed from the public, the Ministry of Gender informed IFEE Country Director, Mr. Orita James, that the adoption agency's accreditations and sector clearance were being revoked for widespread abuse and neglect based on the report by the Liberia National Police. After a careful review of the investigative report from the Liberia National Police and legal opinion within the Ministry of Justice legal arm regarding the allegations of rape, endangering the welfare of children involving Tete children at American for African Adoption Orphanage, your accreditations and sector clearance are hereby revoked permanently in accordance with Article X, Section 15 of the Children Law of 2011. Minister Benny Harris Collins wrote in February 19 letter. The minister's letter continuing, in view of the results of the police investigation and subsequent indictments and ongoing prosecution of the most senior management team of IFAA alongside some of our local staff, it is carefully considered decision of the ministry that it is no longer in the best interest and the safety of Liberian children for the American for African Adoptions Incorporated, Cradle of Hope, to operate or run any adoption facility of orphanage. Minister Benny Harris, February 19, 2024, letter to Ms. Orita James revoking AFEA accreditation and sector clearance. According to the police report, 4 FAA orphanage staff members routinely force children in their care, lift chairs above their heads in extended periods, and subjected them to beating using wooden cooking spoon. The report added that the actions of AFAA staff endangered the welfare of Liberian children and violated the country's child protection law. Additionally, the police found that FAA deliberately failed to report sexual abuse occurring within the orphanage, Staff members were aware of the abuse but declined to take actions or report it, enabling a pattern of continual abuse. Given the ongoing investigation, hereby recommends the following: the suspects Elizabeth Gota, Felicia Brooks, German Winning, and Martha Phillips for the act of repeatedly subjecting children for IFAA orphanage to physical punishment be formally charged with the crime of subjecting a child to harmful practices and either contravene Section 16.15 of the Children Act of 2011 and sent to court for prosecution, the police wrote in their report. The suspect, Elizabeth Gota, Felicius, and Gaman Ngbenim, for the deliberate failure to report acts of sexual abuse among the children at IFAA orphanage, which they were sufficiently knowledgeable about, and formally charged with the crime of failure to report child abuse or declared by a parent or exercise provider an act which contravened Section 16.9 of the Children Act, the police added. With this being said, this is how we move over to another newspaper. That is the Verity newspaper. What is the Verity newspaper reporting this morning? Labor abuse and non-compliance, poor condition inside ArcelorMittal. Labor abuse, non-compliance, poor condition inside ArcelorMittal. And you see the photograph of ArcelorMittal operation site and the train. Also, you see the general manager of ArcelorMittal photograph is on this story. A recent investigation by Verity News has exposed that devastating living conditions endured by workers, including trainees at ArcelorMittal Liberia, revealing a disturbing pattern of abuse, non-compliance, and severe neglect. After 3 months intensive probe into the company's operation, this paper has gathered a dozens of evidence, including photos, videos, and documents of what is usually shown to the public, but as it exists inside ArcelorMittal. In this first investigative report, we share light on the dire circumstances that workers and communities faced. Trainees, many of whom are just beginning their careers in the mining sectors, are housed in makeshift accommodations made from sticks and mud, structures that are in a state of extreme disrepair. The buildings are so poorly constructed that during the rainy season, water sweeps through the wall, flooding the floors. Some rooms are even overrun by trees growing inside them, while dust and die completely over. Still, trainees are forced to live without basic necessities such as consistent access to clean water, electricity, and proper sanitation. Water, when it is available, is sourced from a nearby creek and is left untreated, leading to frequent skin rashes and other health issues among the trainees. The absence of electricity leaves the trainees in darkness, exacerbating their already difficult living condition. Many of the young workers suffering from chronic colds, fever, malaria, uncontrollable coughing, persistent skin rashes, general ill health, all of which are further compounded by the lack of proper hygiene sanitation. Despite these horrific conditions, the company continues to deduct $100 monthly for each trainee, meager stipend for which is described as a one-bedroom apartment. However, the reality is far from what was promised. The rooms are crammed with only one bed as a single bathroom. There is no sitting area, no water, no electricity, leaving trainees to pay $15 monthly as a group of accommodations that are entirely unsuitable for human habitations. One trainee who spoke to Verity News on condition of anonymity described the unbearable condition. Even the bus that can carry us to class is not air conditioned, so we can suffer from heavy dust. When we request a nose mask, it can be available. The accommodations area we are paying $100 monthly each. Another trainee shared their frustration. This place was built with sticks and mud. Doping and Asian methods. This place is very close to the main road, so we suffer from heavy dust every day. This place is constructed on Yekipa Highway, surrounded by forests. We come down with severe cold, fever, and depression because of the deplorable condition of the place. We have asked them so many times to relocate us or give us our money to rent so we can find our own place, but to recondition the place, but all to no avail. The training who spoke to us promises, the trainees who spoke to us about the promises made during the recruitment process. They were told that they could receive 500 monthly stipend throughout the training, but since started they have only received 200 US each month without any formal documentation to explain the discrepancy. They also revealed that the memorandum of understanding they signed made no mention of any stipend, further complicating the situation. ArcelorMittal, a global mining giant with 25 years concession agreement for mineral development in Liberia, has faced criticism for its treatment of local workers and the conditions under which they live. The company concession agreement, valued at 1.6 billion, cover extensive areas in Nimba, includes transportation routes through Bongs to the port of Bassa. Despite its significant investment in Liberia, the reported conditions of training suggest a stark disconnect between the company's global standards and the realities on ground. Our report also revealed that the workers are sleeping in tents based on photos and videos in our possession, something which is contrary to the MDA of ArcelorMittal. ArcelorMittal requires land for an integrated steel mill in Andhra, Southern India. ArcelorMittal Steel Limited, an essential-based Nippon Steel Corporation, has decided to acquire the following land for an integrated steel mill in the state of Andhra Pradesh. The steel mill market in India is expected to grow steadily due to economic population growth, and the government has firmly maintained its support to policies for demand generations, including policies for infrastructure. As ArcelorMittal Steel prepares to commission 2 million ton capacity for advanced automotive steel at Harris plant, the focus is now shifted to Liberia, where ArcelorMittal is expected to largely expand its operations, including the production and export of iron ore, and made a new mineral development agreement, and made a potential renewal of the mineral development agreement between the government of Liberia and ArcelorMittal. The company has increased productions and shipment of iron ore from Nimba through Bong to Bassa for possible exportation. These are pieces of evidence, including a review of the MDA interviews and the authorities and other documents, to show that the company has either not met these agreed upon corporate commitments to a larger extent, reneged on them, including job creations as clearly stated in the Mineral Development Agreement. After 5 years, the company should have at least 25% Liberians in top management position and 50% after 10 years. 365 days after signing the agreement, the company is supposed to appoint 3 Liberians managers. Article 12. 1,000 to the Ministry of Lands and Mines and Energy for Scientific Research Fund. The company will take over all of the houses that the former LAMCO built and renovate them to be used for employee. It will also build new houses if need more unit. The company must be made to build all of the hospitals and clinics for every 1,000 person is employed. All workers and government officials working in connections with the company and their further dependents are entitled to free health care at the best medical standards in the sanitary environment. The company will work at the Ministry of Education and build schools, work with the Ministry of Education and build schools for the children to attend for free. Those to benefit are children of all employees, government employees assigned in the areas, and children of those working there. The company will also pay the school fees for children in the areas where the company does not have a school. The company will train Liberians to be qualified in the company's technical and managerial and administrative operation. It will build vocational schools and provide scholarship. The company will also provide $50,000 to help with scholarship for advanced studies. The company will also provide 50,000 per year to the Department of Mining and Geology at the University of Liberia and promote advanced studies in mining and geology both here and other parts of the world to help communities. And the company will also provide 300,000 for all land in the concession area. It can be recalled civil society activist Emmanuel Say in a statement on Tuesday, March 18, 2025, strongly opposed the renewal of the ArcelorMittal Liberia's mineral development agreement, citing the company's failure to fulfill its obligation to affected communities. Nathan, after renewing the 2007 amended agreement for nearly 6 hours, concluded that the AMF has neglected its commitment to job creation, infrastructure development, environmental protection, among others, describing it as a crackdown on its promises. He accused the companies of exploiting Liberian resources while leaving communities in poverty, displacement, and environmental devastation. According to Niwan, ArcelorMittal has failed to prioritize Liberian employment, with expatriates dominating the managerial position while locals remain in low-paying jobs. He referenced the government employment provisions, which he claims ArcelorMittal Liberia has disregarded by not prioritizing adequate training or opportunity for affected communities. With this being said, this is how we move over to BBC for our international development. Marine Le Pen found guilty in EU funding embezzlement case. And you see the photograph of Marine Le Pen. And that is reported by the British Broadcasting Corporation. Frances Marie Le Pen has been found guilty of misappropriating European funds to finance her far-right National Rally Party, in a case which could lead to her being barred from standing in the 2027 presidential election. The judge has not yet said what the sentence will be. Prosecutor last year said Le Pen punishment should be not 300,000, a fine and prison term, but also ineligible from running for public office for 5 years. Crucially, he said the illegitimacy should be kicked in the straight way and not be suspended pending the appeal. But Marine Le Pen is expected to fight if convicted. Judges could also decide not to impose automatic ineligibility with her conviction, which could leave her free to stand in 2027 during an appeal process. The court could also give her a shorter term for automatic ineligibility, say 1 year, making it possible for her to run. Le Pen was accused, along with more than 20 other senior party figures, of hiring assistants who work with the RN party affairs rather than for the European Parliament, which paid in. During the trial last year, Le Pen denied and had committed the slightest irregularity. The reading of the verdict, which stated shortly after 10 a.m., is expected to take up to 2 hours. The breaking news story is being updated, and more details will be published shortly. So these are all of the trending news that we have reported. Before we conclude on this segment of the program Inside the Print Media, let's begin to acknowledge some of our followers who have been following us very closely from the point of the social media. Ambassador Eric Paulo Collins, say he writes, I'm following the conversation. S. Amos Tamad, following from Broville Parker Conan. Sekou Bamba, he said, following, he has not incited any location. A Dolo Billions say, I'm following Moba F. Conan, following from Tusafi. Thanks to all of you who have been following from the social media, and including those who have been listening as it relates to the program being aired on the radio. Thanks to all of you. My name is K. Lyndon Togba. Tomorrow we will be back here to bring you another edition of the program inside the print media. Until then, do have yourself a blessed day.
Hello dear, my name is K. Lyndon Togba. I'm in search of a platform where I can get credible information of our daily happenings in Liberia.
Focal TV. Bringing you innovation to broadcasting, news, views, comments, and analysis of issues happening in Liberia and the rest of the world. Focal TV. With check and balance, we break it as it unfolds. Focal TV. Bringing you face to face with newsmakers in town. Focal TV. The best online platform in broadcasting. Focal TV, located at Topo Village, Somalia Drive, Liberia. Be the part and experience the best in online broadcasting. Keep focal.